Hello everyone, welcome back to our second night of our virtual VBS, where we're learning how to break out of the ordinary into the extraordinary using God's help. So last night we looked at how a booster doc got trapped, right, and you all had to free him, looking through those codes and solving them. So I'm so impressed with how well you all did with all of those. And then we also talked about in our story Jonah and how he disobeyed God, went away from God's plan, and then eventually learned that he did need to follow God's plan. And after, he was swallowed by a giant fish, and then he asked for forgiveness, went ahead and went to Nineveh and preached to the people there like God had asked him to. So we learned about breaking out from disobedience. Tonight's lesson, we're going to talk about a story that you may not have heard as much. The Jonah and the fish story is a fairly common story that you hear in Bible classes from the time you're in the nursery. But this story that we're going to do tonight, or today, whenever you're watching this, is about King Saul and David. So usually when we think of David, we might think of how he killed Goliath, right? Or we think of King David and things he did later on. But this is a different story. This is after David has been anointed king. So King Saul knows that David has been anointed to be the next king, and he's not very happy about that. And so King Saul has been kind of chasing David around. David's had to be hiding all over the place, afraid for his life. And King Saul has really wanted revenge on David. He's wanted to kill him so that he can't be the next king, right? So one time, David actually encounters King Saul in a position where David could kill him or could harm him. But David decides not to. And so we're going to look at breaking out from revenge. So saying that you don't always have to get revenge, right? We're going to be different people by not seeking revenge. And so our youth minister, Clark Frazier, actually did a really good lesson on this for us. And so we're going to watch that and have him kind of explain the story and go through some of his concepts about it and how we can break out from revenge. And then we're going to come back and I'll talk just a little bit about the craft for tonight and then what's coming up next time, okay? So let's watch Clark and see what he has to say.
Hey everyone, today we're going to be talking about a couple different passages. Really, it's the same episode that seems to happen in two different ways, nearly back to back. It's a popular thing, you've probably heard of it before. It's in 1 Samuel chapter 24 and then again in chapter 26. David is on the run. Saul is trying to ensure that his bloodline is the one that gets to keep the kingdom, even though he's done things and turned away from the ways that God told him to walk in. And he knows that David is supposed to be the king, so he starts hunting him down. So David's fleeing. In chapter 24, we get an interesting encounter. And I'm not going to read the whole thing, but just to give you a little bit of reference. When Saul returned from following the Philistines, he was told, "Behold, David is in the wilderness of En-Gedi." Then Saul took 3,000 chosen men out of Israel and went to seek David. And he came to the sheepfolds by the way where there was a cave. And Saul went into the cave to relieve himself, or go to the bathroom. Now David and his men were sitting in the innermost parts of that cave. And the men of David said to him, Here's the day of which the Lord has said to you, Behold, I will give your enemy into your hand. You will do to him as it seems good to you. And then David arose and stealthily cut off the corner of Saul's robe. And the story goes on, and you've heard this before. David had every chance to just kill Saul and be done with it. He wouldn't have to be on the run anymore. He could go home. He could be with his family again. But here, he doesn't choose to do it, which is weird because you have all of his men hyping him up in the back of the stadium like, no, today's the day, go kill the dude. And imagine the disappointment that all of his friends and followers had when he comes back with the robe. He's like, nah, I cut off his robe corner. And everyone's like, dude, we sent you to kill the guy. Like, what are you doing? So this keeps going, and Saul leaves the cave, and y'all know the rest of the story. When Saul gets a safe distance away, David comes out, and he's holding up the corner of his robe and saying, Saul, I could have killed you, but I'm not going to. You may want to hurt me, but I really don't want to hurt you. And then we have Saul, he apologizes, like, I'm sorry, you're a better person than I am. And then they go their separate ways. And you think, okay, Saul learned his lesson, cool. And then you go to chapter 26, and you realize that isn't the case at all. You see Saul's servants come up to him again and say, hey, David's in so-and-so place, let's go get him. And Saul, apparently forgetting the mercy that David had done, or apparently just doesn't care anymore, he goes after David and is actually encamped at night, and he's sleeping in his tent, and David goes down. He takes one of his friends, goes down to where Saul is sleeping, and next to his head is a spear, which is pretty significant and ironic even, because Saul earlier tries to kill David by pinning him to a wall with a spear. And David here has every opportunity to get him back, to do what Saul was trying to do to David, but he refuses to do it. And the story goes on, and he actually takes a water jug as well, and then he goes up the hill, and in the morning he's like, Saul, could have killed you. Please stop trying to kill me. I do not want to fight you. And one thing I think is just so cool here is so often I'm in that place where I'm with someone that I'm arguing with, I'm with someone that I disagree with, that I don't like or whatnot, and I feel like I have all the ammunition I need to take them down right then. I know just the thing to say. I know just how to get them, how to hurt their feelings, how to get into their heart and in their mind. And so often I'm like, unlike David, who's like, no, I'm not going to kill him, I'm like, stab him to the ground. He's like, okay, I'm going to kill you, you're done, haha, I win. But here we see that's not what you're supposed to do. When you have all of the ammunition you could ever want, when you have all of these opportunities to hurt those who are actively trying to hurt you, this wasn't a little annoyance in David's case. Saul was trying to kill him, but David gave him mercy. Maybe we should too.
And he always has a great way of kind of interpreting things from the Bible. And so I hope you really enjoyed hearing from him. And so for the rest of the night or the day that you're working on this, we have a super exciting craft because we're going to tie-dye our shirt. Remember that when we do the tie-dye, you definitely need to have adult supervision, right? So I don't want to get any complaints that there's dye all over the carpet and the couch. All right, so let's make sure that you have your parents or your parents' permission, some adult supervision helping you with this. And I can't wait to see how all the different shirts turn out. So I'd really love it if you would post pictures of those. You can use hashtag AlvatonVBS 2020, or you could just post them on our VBS page, and we'd love to see how everybody's turn out. For Mission 3, next time, we are going to talk about Daniel in the lion's den, and we're going to talk about how he was able to break out of his fear with God's help. Again, something that we all sometimes struggle with is, dealing with fear and how to break out of that. So that's what we're going to look at next time. So good luck with the codes that you have for tonight. We definitely want to try to get Booster Dog out of that net that he was trapped in, right? So I'll see you next time. Bye.